So my name's Bryan Van Wyk. I work with Austral Fisheries. Austral Fisheries is one of the largest seafood companies in Australia. We've got sort of businesses and assets all over the place, but I work in the northern prawn fishery. So you can imagine the very tip of Australia, Queensland, Cape York, so from there all the way through to Western Australia, Northern Territory border. That's sort of our fishery. So we have 11 boats, 88 crew members. We fish there 6 months of the year. My job title's operations manager. So in a nutshell, essentially, I work in a team and it's our job to make sure that sort of business is operating smoothly. It's safe for the crew, that it's sustainable, and obviously that it makes money, like all businesses should. But my role's actually quite diverse. So I get to do some pretty cool stuff. For example, like just last month, I was working out of Corumba as a prawn spotter. So flying around in aeroplanes, finding schools of prawns for the boats to catch. Next week, I'm in Brisbane doing fisheries management meetings. And then later in the year, I'll probably go to sea, do some sawfish work. So it's all very interesting and lots going on. So I love it. I didn't actually. It's interesting. I didn't have any family members into it. I picked up from a very young age. I've been obsessed with the ocean. Like as far back as I can remember, I've loved everything that lives in the ocean. I discovered fishing, spear fishing, diving, that sort of stuff from a young age. Like that's all I wanted to do every day after school, weekends, holidays, that sort of thing. So. I remember being in school, high school, at a critical age where you start to think about career opportunities, and I freaked out because I had no idea what I wanted to do. But my biggest fear was ending up in a career or a job I didn't like and getting stuck there for most of the rest of your life. I knew I liked the ocean, the marine environment, so I sort of tailored my schooling a bit, tried a bit harder, math, science, English, that sort of stuff. Went to uni. A fantastic uni in Tassie called Australian Maritime College, and studied marine science and fisheries management. And then I got pretty lucky because I landed this job pretty much straight after my honours year. So it doesn't always work out like that. But 8 years later, I'm still here and probably end up staying here till I retire. I was fortunate because the uni I went to was very practical. Like we had our own commercial fishing vessel we could go out and do trials on. So you picked up a lot of hands-on experience there. I did do a bit of work in Tassie in the Inland Fisheries Service, eradicating carp, which was really fun. That was cool work. And I started at the very bottom here. Like I didn't walk into a good role straight away. Like that's just a fantasy. That doesn't really happen. Literally started at the bottom, like was scrubbing boats from dirty, grimy engine rooms up. And, I found out the hard way the fishing industry can be pretty tough. But, just stuck with it and took every opportunity I got. And so far, so good. Yeah, this is an interesting question. If you looked at this role on paper and needed the skills and experience to just walk in and do it right now, you'd fill pages of skills and experiences. But the interesting thing is, like, I didn't have any of that when I started. No one does. And so they're more behavioral traits, but probably the two most important things for anyone starting out in careers or anyone that wants to become successful and get places. First one would be willingness to learn, like being able to and this is pretty broad. It's being able to learn from yourself. So any mistakes you make, learn from that. Being able to learn from other people around you, especially like older, more experienced people. Like I call myself a sponge at times because I just absorb as much as I can from people I know are not going to be here, in the future. And that's helped me a lot. And, being able to research problems and find answers yourself. So willingness to learn. And then the other one is work ethic. So it sounds simple, but you'd be amazed at how many people lack a good work ethic in jobs. If you combine those two things, like you'll really go places quite far. And then you might not have the skills or experiences like I did, but your company, the government, whoever you work for, if they see your willingness to learn and your work ethic, they will invest in you and you'll grow the skills. That will all come later. So the interesting thing about those things I mentioned, you can't just turn it off and on. It's kind of, you've either got it or you don't. And the best way to make sure you've got it is to be able to practice it early. So at home, at your sport, at your part-time job, whatever it is, will get you in a good habit, and that will carry forward through way beyond school. So I don't think there's any businesses in 2023 where tech's not a big thing. We're no different. We use tech everywhere in this sort of business. From on boats, we use like state-of-the-art fish finders and radars and plotters, satellite communications. In our offices, we're all about databases and analytics and all that sort of thing. But if we're talking sort of new state-of-the-art stuff, we've been working on one the last few years now on traceability. So we're currently using RFID, so radio frequency tags, on all our seafood packaging and boxes. So radio frequency tags, ID tags on boxes, so that the whole goal here is to be able to track seafood from the moment you catch it on a boat all the way through to when the consumer consumes it. They can scan it with their phone. So we've got all sorts of readers and scanners and hardware. Like if you're in the tech, it's really, really cool. But the overall goal of the whole project is to be able to make sure that the consumer and the customers who are buying the product actually getting what they paid for, and sustainability is a huge driver. So it sort of stops people from getting sort of less sustainable or sometimes illegal sourced products from overseas and then selling it as something else. You know exactly what you're getting. You can see it all there on your smartphone. So that would be a new age tech that we're sort of working on at the moment. Yeah, well, that's kind of the whole reason I'm here, making a difference. It gives, my work gives me a bit of purpose. You can look at this at many levels. If you look at it at a very small level with my role, I can see the impact I'm having on, people's lives all around me. We see, from our fishermen or skippers to crew, like I've seen people start families and, build homes and, just change their lives forever, and having even a small part to play in that is a pretty cool feeling of making a difference. On a really wide scale, you can go really broadly here and look at the role or impact I'm having with this company on big issues like climate change, for example. We're carbon neutral, so we're doing a lot of work with that. The ever-growing population of the world, like that's a massive challenge. Feeding people, doing it sustainably. So it's really important to have sustainable seafood now and for the future more than ever. So having even a small part to play in that overall bigger picture definitely gives me a sense of purpose and making a difference there for sure. Challenges, yeah, that's our bread and butter in the seafood industry. We've got challenges everywhere and all the time. We're always facing challenges. We got good examples would be, say, bycatch, the accidental capture of any animal you're not intending to catch. We deal with a bit of that and have made really good progress with innovations and bycatch reduction devices. We have the external threats of climate change. We've got marketing difficulties. Sometimes we're competing in markets. Then there's agriculture, land runoff, pollution. There's all these external challenges. But above everything, I think everyone will have this answer too. This is like above all, no matter what workplace you're in, the biggest challenge I find is people. So people management. The reason for that, obviously, everyone's got different beliefs, backgrounds, and they come from all different places. And particularly in a fishing industry, sometimes you've got people with different cultural beliefs living on the same boat for 4 months at sea. That can be problematic. The best way to overcome this sort of challenge of people management is to listen, understand. Empathy plays a big role here. You got to put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, well, one of the best quotes I've heard is like, leadership is the art of getting people to want to do what needs to be done, right? No one's going to want to work for you or anyone if you're a yeller, a screamer, you don't listen or understand. So you've got to ask yourself, how do you get the most out of people? You want them to be happy. You've got to listen, understand, and work with them.
Mm.
Best decision. Ooh. Probably getting outside comfort zone. That's been the best one. It's pretty cliche, but it is honestly the best advice I've ever got, and the best advice I'll ever give. I sort of started practicing this very early on in my career. So two good quotes for comfort zone. One is life begins at the end of your comfort zone. That's so true. Like I'm a big believer in that. The other one is your comfort zone's a great space, but nothing ever grows there. That's also true. So getting outside your comfort zone, doing something that scares you a little bit, like public speaking is probably one for everyone, and no one likes public speaking, myself included. So doing a bit of that, learning new skills, just taking on a bit more responsibility. Like, again, another thing you can practice really early on at your home, school, or even sport. Get outside your comfort zone, make that a habit, and you will thank me for it later. That's definitely the thing that I practice a lot. This is a hard one. There's so many. I want to say the prawn spotting side just because it's fresh in my mind. Like, there is no better feeling than flying around in a plane and finding prawns that no one else has found, and getting your boats in there and catching prawns. That would be the real easy low-hanging fruit. But I think the thing that gives me the biggest buzz out of everything in my career is being able to solve problems, get through challenges. Like, there's been some crazy stuff in my career already, and we've got through it. And there's no better sense of achievement or fulfillment when you get through those things. So yeah, just being able to navigate our way through some pretty tough times is enough to make me enjoy what I do.